My name is Michael Breggy, and I am so proud to be the superintendent here in Beverly Hills. And I want to thank you very much for coming out tonight. One of the slogans and missions that we've had this year is pulling all of our schools together, all 5 of our campuses. So just like to see how many people, please raise your hand if you are representing Hawthorne. Okay? El Rodeo. Okay? Horace Mann. And Beverly Vista. And of course, Beverly Hills High School. How many parents do we have? If you're a parent, raise your hand. And look around. I want you to really see who's here tonight. Staff. Okay? And just community members. Mr. Bob Rubin and others, thank you for being here. Before we start, there's a lot of work that goes into presentations like this, and I do want to extend my gratitude to the PTA Council for putting on the entire event tonight. So please join me in a round of applause. And before we start, I hope you don't mind if you just indulge me, because I just want to do a quick selfie with you. Be sure and smile.
You have to have all of them. Oh my God.
See, this is much better than Ellen. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. So as we begin, I begin all of our presentations with our mission and our vision for our school district. And it's really important that we never lose sight of that roadmap for us, whether it's social, emotional, or academic. So it's really important to remind all of our stakeholders about our vision and our mission, especially now, because our education model is changing from a very traditional education model to one that relies more heavy on internet and technology. So I'd like to start off a lot of presentations with a quick story. I made a bold move. Didn't work out so well, but in the end it really paid off. So if you have your technology with you today, if you have your phone out and you Google Breggy, which is B-R-E-G-Y, cell phone, so if you type in Breggy, cell phone, you're going to get this story that was all over the news. About 10 years ago, I was a high school principal, and for about 10 years, and it was a school of 2,500 students, and it was at that time of the year where a lot of the students were doing pranks and things like that. Well, I had made a decision with cell phones that instead of spending all of this time with the technology and taking them away and giving detentions, that we made a decision in our school that we're going to allow the cell phones, and this was 10 years ago. And so our students walked around and had cell phones the entire time. And so one spring afternoon, I had my radio on and I was in one of the hallways and I got called saying that there was this mob of kids on the second floor by our math wing. And I go, we're running up there, and it was a water balloon fight, and it was about 200, 300 students all throwing water balloons at each other, and people were slipping, and it was a chaotic mess. And what happened was, the staff was like, we told you, because at that time, 10 years ago, this was way before the one-to-ones, bringing home the computers. This was the only real piece of technology that people had that they were walking around with. And what students did, and they found out really quickly, was how to mobilize ourselves as quick as possible and started to communicate with one another so that it was meet us on the second floor for the biggest water balloon fight you've ever seen, and that message went so quickly to one another that it caused that reaction. So I thought about it for a while because the staff was really mad for a while. And I was still convinced that the cell phone 10 years ago had such greater capabilities than just students using it to mobilize themselves. And so I did something a little crazy. I got on the loudspeaker to all 2,500 students, and I said, "Mr. Principal, please take out your phone." And I gave them my contact information, my cell phone number, and said, "I'm giving this to you for your safety. And so anytime you feel as if there is a safety issue, bullying, any type of situation at all, to please text me." I said, "You can't call me, you can only text me." And I gave really explicit directions. Now the only mistake that I really made was I didn't tell anybody else I was doing that. So teachers, assistant principals were like, "Oh, what is he doing?" But I'll tell you, the greatest thing happened because students, if they know, we have so many good students, most of our students. So I wanted people to have the cell phones, but I also wanted them to use them responsibly. So a great thing happened. I would start getting text messages from students that would say, "Hey, just want to give you the heads up. These two students said that they were going to be fighting in this area of the building." And I was able to, this is 10 years ago, either I went myself or assistant principals or staff, and because more students were using the technology responsibly. And so everything, the water balloon, that mobilizing that the students were doing, that just stopped. And so students were able to have cell phones in front of them. And there are high schools, middle schools across the country that are still playing, in fact, we are. What do? 1 year, keep them out of sight. Another year, you can have them out. We cannot figure out what to do with that device. But if we teach students to use it responsibly, and we model for them what the expectations are, you can get these types of results that people thought that it was absolutely crazy for doing. This policy is still in place at this high school in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm very proud of that. But the message is that the technology is moving so quickly that we have to stay on top of it. That's why this is so important that you're here today, because we have to stay connected and we need to stay on top of this. This was great for bullying, and this was great for, if you read the article in the paper, all the news people showed up the next day, this was NBC showed up, and it was a little bit out of the ordinary, but the message was that it works. And if you trust kids and you teach kids and you educate kids and you engage kids, they will do what you ask of them. So, a couple of things that, as a school district, we know that we have to get ready for what's happening now. We have to prepare for that technology that we have no idea what that's going to look like, but kind of exciting, but another reason to stay on top of it. And we need to look beyond the classroom. And so some of the things that I just want to mention before I turn this over to begin our program, these are things that we need to do better as a school district. And that's the communication piece. Communicating with you, communicating with our teachers, having better expectations about what is communicated to your home, about an assignment or a project, because you as a parent or community member should be able to go up to your child and say, what are you working on? And actually know about what they're working on. And so that's that communication piece. And there's a transparency piece to that as well. The partnership is critical. You can look at all the research, and it's there. The success of your children comes from your parent and also your teachers and your school and your community. So that partnership, it's important to us. We don't want this to be an event that's just a single event, to check it off that we did it. We really want to embed this type of partnership in everything that we do. the digital citizenship, the modeling, and that is, again, with cell phones or your iPads. When students are in your home or in our schools, we have to remind ourselves that we're also modeling what digital citizenship is and should be with our own technology devices. The collaboration piece, we have to make sure that we give training, and not just one-size-fits-all training. Find out where teachers are, just like how we find out where students are. Find out where our teachers are and their level of competency and level of being comfortable with the technology, and then provide that training. And we need to do that for our teachers. And again, not just a one-time training, but consistently and collaboratively. And then finally, just the equity and access piece. We have to be ensured that we have the equity and the availability and access for future technology for all of our students. So I want to thank you again for being here tonight. It's really important. I'm so excited that there are so many people here. Our lives are so busy. This is an incredible turnout, and we're super excited. I'd like to turn over the program now to our Director of Technology, Bernadette Lucas.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? You're going to be even better in about an hour once you get all this information. That's right, Bahar. So I wanted to share something with you. At the end of September, I was leaving a PTA council meeting, and Romy, where is she? Oh, right, it's you. And Bahar grabbed me, literally grabbed me, and said, we have got to partner with Common Sense Media on a grander scale and bring that knowledge and education from Common Sense Media to our parents. And that's why over 140 of you are here tonight. One of the lessons I learned as a principal is that when your parents push and engage you with professional development or a training that they need, you make it happen. So I want to give these two lovely ladies a big round of applause for grabbing me. I have more beautiful parents to thank at the end of the program, okay? There are 4 people who I would like to bring on this stage. They hate this, but that's okay. Would you come up, please? Where's the 4th? So about a few months ago, between a few months ago and a year ago, BHUSD and our Board of Education approved funding for instructional technology TOSAs. And this came, again, as a grassroots effort from our staff, from our parents, based on research that when you're integrating such a disruptive, for lack of a better expression, innovation such as instructional technology, you need to make sure your teachers have support and coaching. Every bit of research bears that out. So because of your efforts and the efforts of staff, we have these 4 incredible women standing on the stage. So your instructional technology coaches are Carla Mulholland for Beverly Vista, Anne-Marie Fine for the high school, and somehow she's also teaching at the same time. Lisa Bozen for ER for El Rodeo. And last but not least, Lisa Beeler for Horace Mann. And the 3K8 TOSAs are covering Hawthorne until we can hire the Hawthorne TOSAs. They should get a round of applause for doing that alone. So thank you guys so much. They have made such a huge difference, and you should know that as parents with your teachers. So we're going to quickly transition. If I could ask Sue Thotz to start coming up. I've known Sue for almost 5 years in my work with instructional technology and the importance and passion for digital citizenship. Sue is an incredibly engaging speaker. More importantly, she is so knowledgeable about this subject matter. She's worked with parents all over the state and throughout the country, no, Sue?
Yes.
Yes. So with that, can we bring Sue up, Sue Thotz up with a big Beverly Hills Unified welcome.
All right, let me get my tech going here. Question is, which clicker is mine? Let's try both. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, okay. Now we're ready to go. Oh, this makes me so happy to see all of you here tonight. As Dr. Breggy said, you guys are the partners that they need in order to be able to make their district, make their community, and make these kids have the best opportunities that they could possibly have with this technology that they're bringing in. And so this is not only meaningful to all of your staff, it's also meaningful to everybody else who's involved, right? So if you have one parent here, if there was one parent here who came away with all kinds of good information, that one parent is just an island, right? But to see everybody communicating here and all on the same page, this is how you build community. And this is the way that you make change happen within a community. So tonight, my talk is really about parenting in the digital age. And as Bernadette said, I am the Senior Program Manager for Common Sense Education. More importantly, I'm a parent, right? I have 2 kids at home. I have one 11-year-old gamer, and I have a 13-year-old reader, Instagrammer, artist, right? And they're both musicians. I come from education. I did a lot of education research. I also was a 4th grade teacher for a little bit, but mostly I did a lot of research in public health and all kinds of other background pieces. So if you don't know us, we are Common Sense Education and Common Sense Media and Common Sense Kids Action, collectively known as Common Sense. All right? So we are all the same company. We're all the same nonprofit. And what we do is we try to help kids thrive in the 21st century. So we're going to show you guys how we do that and see if we can help you help your own kids in your own community. You might know us because we do ratings, right? How many of you guys use our rating system? Okay, lots of you. If you're not using our ratings and you are a parent, you might enjoy this, okay? We rate all movies, books, apps, television shows, video games, website, and but now YouTube channels as well for content. So for example, this movie here, Inside Out, which you guys might have seen, we tell you its educational value, positive messages, positive role models, violence and scariness, and exactly what kind of language you're going to hear. So there are no surprises. If you remember Back to the Future very fondly, and then you get ready to show your kids something, and then, oops, oh my goodness, I didn't remember that scene. Or, oh, like this happens to me. You know, I hear parents say this all the time, right? So if you want to know exactly what is in here, go to commonsensemedia.org and look up any app, video game. You do not have to pre-read all your kids' books anymore and look for the kind of content that you find objectionable. You can use our stuff. It's all free, and it's all there for you to use. And so if you got one of those handouts on the way in, that's all our Common Sense Media stuff, right? commonsensemedia.org, and here are all the apps, reviews, and ratings. So you guys were given some homework on the way in, and earlier, like we received an email, and we asked you what apps or sites do your kids, either K through 3, 4 through 5, middle school, high school, what apps do they want to use, right? So did you guys do this? How many of you guys did this? If you did not do this, pull out your phone right now. And you can either scan the QR code that Lisa gave you on the way in, or you can just type this into your address bar on your browser, and you type in, if you are K3, if you have a K3 kid, answergarden.ch/598-663. If you are parents of 4th and 5th grade, you type in this one, right? Does this make sense? Is this easy? Can you do this on your phone? And I'm going to show you the results of this. And then I'll show you the middle school and the high school ones. Oh, I see you guys working feverishly trying to get this done. Your kids can get this done in 2 seconds. They'll have that entered. Parents are slow. They do not have dexterous thumbs like their children. So where do you enter it? On the search bar in your browser on your phone. Is that what the question was? So you go to open up your Safari or open up your whatever, your Chrome browser, and you enter that in. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the answers that you have given to me. Okay, so we'll start with these younger grades. Everybody good? If you need a minute, hold your hand up. Okay, I have a couple more minutes. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. Ready? People want to see, they're dying to see these answers. Okay? All right, so I am going to see what you guys put in. Wow, YouTube. YouTube. All right, so this is, the bigger the word appears, the more times parents have put this in. So kids aged kindergarten through 3rd grade are asking to play a lot of YouTube. There's some Minecraft in here. There's a little bit of, well, YouTube with 2 different words, right? For those of you who put it in as that. Plants vs. Zombies is in there, Minecraft survival, right? So what I'm going to show you is the Common Sense review for YouTube, or any information we have about it. Ooh, sorry. Okay, hold on. So I'm going to Common Sense Media.org. See, my fingers are not as your kids have. All right, so I go to commonsensemedia.org, and I'm just going to put up here in the search bar, YouTube, and see what happens, right? What resources do we have at Common Sense to share with you about YouTube? We have a review here about YouTube, and wow, I don't know if you noticed this, but we suggest ages 13 and up, right? And I think that's more for users who, and we'll tell you why. YouTube is a social media site. I don't know if you realize this. Users can post, and users can view other people's posts. So that's why we have officially that it is age 13 and up. Kids say ages 12 and up. Parents say, okay, no, 18 and up, based on one review. So here's what we say about YouTube, right? And I think, keep this all in mind. Take everything that we have in here with a grain of salt, right? This is just our suggestion. If you are sitting down with your kid and playing YouTube videos with them on a channel that you trust, that you think is great, then by all means, it's just like television, right, in a lot of ways. But if you're just letting your kid walk down the YouTube rabbit hole, who knows where they're going to end up, right? So if you look on here, here's why we said this. We talk about educational value of YouTube, which I find I learn everything from YouTube, right? I learned how to knit. I learned how to do any kind of gardening thing, fix my heater, whatever. I do it all on YouTube. So teens can learn about news and other topics in kids' channels, and then there are specific content channels that are really recommended. Content varies depending on programming. So this is not a super helpful review necessarily, but what's in here is YouTube is a free app, and here's what it is if you don't know what it is. Talk to your kids about setting TV limits, and here's a link here for the TV limits. Discuss how to be cautious about free apps and such. But what I think is really valuable is going through here and not just looking at our review of YouTube, but also looking at review of YouTube Kids, right? That's on here, and that one says ages 7 and up. Why do we do that? Because it's a little bit more restricted, right? And then we also have, in addition to some of these other pieces that are in here, I thought we might have some blog articles. Some of our other ones. So Minecraft was also suggested. So if we look at Minecraft, oops, that's Minecraft, M-I-N-E. So if we look at Minecraft, then in here, we also have a review of Minecraft to tell you all about it. This is the console gaming version. But down here, we also have things like games like Minecraft, right? Videos about top 10 Minecraft terms explained, right? This is the 3-minute video for you as a parent. Minecraft versus Roblox. What's the difference and why do you need to know, right? So Minecraft glossary for parents. Is this something that you as a parent might need to know if this is what your kid is into? This one, you can find it in English and Spanish. If you want to know what a bio, creative, survival, creeper, enderman, what are all these things, we will tell you all about it, right? So this is kind of like your gateway into the world of media and technology, explained to you as a parent, and this is the information that you might need to know. So with this one, let's look at the 4th through 5th grade. What do you guys say? I'm going to guess Minecraft. That's because Instagram. Instagram is the big winner. Good job, Instagram. Okay, so let's go to Common Sense Media. And let's see what we find. It's really hard to type one-handed. All right, so for the Instagram, we suggest 15 and up, but then there's also what is Instagram, right? And what parents need to know. These are the kinds of things that you don't just read the rating, but you also, the age on there, you also read what are the things that you need to watch out for as a parent. So these are not hard and fast rules. These are your interpretation as parents. You take this information and you use this however you want to use this, right? I have my 13-year-old on Instagram, right? So she wanted Instagram when she was 12 because she's a super fan of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, all this folks, and there's so many fan memes and websites and really cool information out there that's on Instagram that her friends were all accessing. I don't want to keep her from all of that fantastic stuff that keeps her reading, right? So what I did was I got an Instagram account, and I let her have control over my Instagram account. So she could access all of that. So it's like we were on training wheels for our first year. While I had the Instagram account, I could look at it anytime, but she was the one who was posting, she was the one who was following people, and I got to ask questions whenever I saw something come up that I found to be questionable. So it was kind of like we had Instagram together for a year, and then now she has been released. And I can check in on her Instagram whenever I ask, right? But really it's hers now. So that's the way that we did Instagram to kind of mitigate some of the effects that you see up here. And so you can read why we thought that Instagram was not exactly what it is that an 11-year-old should be using, for sure. Is that helpful? Okay. Okay, so, I don't know, do we need to see the rest of them? Oh, here we are. Hold on, we gotta go back. Because we gotta see these guys. Let's see what the winners were for middle school. 3 middle schoolers? Oh. Let's see what came up. Snapchat. If you search Snapchat on our site, you will get lots of resources about Snapchat, YouTube, and so on. So you guys know how to do that one. And then also the big piece here for high school, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, right? So you guys can see, you're all in the same boat. All right, so let's continue on here. Just as Dr. Brege really likes to pull in his vision, it is something that I always pull in as well. Because when it comes to working with a district, I always try to figure out, what's your point? What are you guys trying to do as a district, right? And so with your vision, you say, you guys have children that go to the school, you say that you value a safe and supportive environment, right? Every student will engage in a rigorous and enriching quality education and will be prepared to thrive in a complex, changing world. So when it comes to that safety, right, and that supportive environment, that doesn't just include the physical space that your kids are in every single day. That's going to include the online space that your kids are in when they are engaged with technology, both inside of school and outside of school. So how can we make sure that our kids are being safe, that they are emotionally and socially supported, and that they feel like they are given everything they need to thrive, both in the classroom as well as in their online spaces? And in order to be able to prepare your students to thrive in a complex and changing world, what does that mean, right? It means bringing in technology a lot of times. So how can we, as educators, say that we're preparing your students for this world if we're not teaching them how to behave in the online spaces? So that's part of why they're bringing me in, right? That's part of why I'm here tonight, is to bring you in as partners, as parents, so that when those folks in your schools teach your students all about this concept of digital citizenship, you as parents at home can reinforce that and make this all a true community-wide effort, all right? And we'll talk a little bit about why that is important and how it is that you guys as parents can help support this. So, as we talked about, technology supports that vision by really bringing your kids the opportunities to practice being safe, to be supportive. So they're not doing it on their own at home, but it's really about the culture that you're building, both in your school sites and in the online environment. And so how is it that they are trying to create this culture for success? I always ask schools, I used to be a substitute teacher, and you could walk into a school, and within a matter of 30 seconds, you would determine whether or not, I could determine whether or not I was going to go home crying that day, or whether it was going to be a good day. And I don't base that based on academic scores, right? I don't know the academic scores necessarily of a school when I walk in the door. I base that on the culture, right? Who do I see smiling at me? Who do I see being kind to their kids as they drop them off? How is that front desk person treating me? What do the walls look like, right? What does the place smell like, right? All of these things are part of the culture of the school, and when you have leadership that says our culture is kind, our culture is responsible, our culture is safe, and I trust you as kids to be able to make good decisions, and I'm going to show you how, right? And that's what your leadership is really trying to do. And that's what your principals are trying to do, is create that culture that builds your students up and empowers them to use technology well. And they're counting on you as parents to be their partners in that effort and to not let your kids be junk zombies all day long, right? When they come back home to you, but to use that technology in responsible and safe and ethical ways. So I say hope is not a strategy. You can't just say, oh, please, please, please don't let my kid send nude pictures, right? Like, that, I mean, you can, think that to yourself all day long, but unless you have a conversation with your kid and talk about cyberbullying, talk about sexting, talk about what is safe and responsible and ethical behavior, and do things like share your values and talk about those expectations that you have for them. Hope is not going to be your best strategy, right? So I say that, when you guys had young kids, when you had second and, or little like toddlers, right? A 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in hand, and your partner calls you and says, we need some milk and bread on the way home. Can you please stop by and pick it up? And you and your kids are exhausted, right? And you say, okay, kids, you could wait until they have a tantrum in the dairy aisle, right? Or you could say, before you go into that store, here is what I expect of you. I know you're tired. I know this has been a long day. I know you're hungry. But we're just going to go into the store. We're going to get the bread and the milk, and then we're going to be out of here, right? I know you can do this, all right? That is the time to address behavior. It is not in the dairy aisle when there's a crisis happening, right? The time to address behavior with your kids about their online presence and the things that they're doing is not after you've already had a disaster with the phone, because that's a really hard time to have conversations. It is now, right? It is before your kids are engaged using media and technology. It is before you hand over a phone. It is before something you do not want happening to happen. And neither do these guys, right? Neither do the educators that they work with. You're all going to be in a proactive, preventive state of mind. And that's what's most important here. So they are working hard to teach your kids digital citizenship skills at school. And I'll show you what that looks like. But for now, I just want to share a couple of trends that are going on so that we're all on the same page of what your kids are actually doing with media and technology. Since 2013, the amount of time young kids have spent on mobile devices, this is kids 0 to 8 years old, has tripled, right? From 15 minutes a day to 48 minutes a day. This is a study that we released at Common Sense that just got released this year. On average, kids from lower income families spend 1 hour and 39 minutes more with screen media each day than kids from higher income families. This matters to me as a parent who works and sends my kids to school, and I want to make sure that every kid has equity, right? That there's equity across my schools, and that every parent has this, and every kid has the same opportunity to make sure that their kids are using quality media and technology, and that they have alternatives to, and a healthy balance within their life. Your students between the ages of 13 and 18 are spending an average of 9 hours a day with media daily. This is not counting homework. This is not counting time in school. This is a nationally representative survey that we did. And you're like, how in the world is that happening, right? 9 hours a day? They're not even awake 9 hours a day outside of school. If your kid is listening to music and also watching, playing on Instagram for 1 hour each, at the same time, that counts as 2 hours. Okay? So when they're multitasking, that time gets parsed out and gets added in. Right? So listening to music or tweeting while you're watching Game of Thrones, right? That time is added up. For kids between the ages of 8 and 12, that's 6 hours a day. And I'll show you what they tend to do. This over here is kids between the ages of 8 and 12. They watch a lot of TV, right? They listen to a lot of music. Does this make you feel better? No? These are the same things that you guys did when you were little, right? When you were between the ages of 8 and 12, you watched a lot of TV, you listened to a lot of music. You probably didn't play mobile games, right? But they're reading. Reading counts as media time. Maybe it's good media time. Not all media time is the same. So they're watching videos online and using social media. So this is, on the right-hand side, this is kids between the ages of 13 and 18. And they are listening to tons of music. If you have seen a teenager without earbuds on, that's a total anomaly, right? Watching a lot of TV, spending a lot of time on social media and such. So, teens spend an average of an hour and 11 minutes using social media, but only 10% of teens choose using social media as their favorite media-related activity. They don't necessarily love it. And I think, let's take a look at this, and then I'll talk about why that is, that they don't say that they love it.
My name is Alejandra, and I'm 13. And like on a daily basis, I go on my phone, like in the morning, then I'll check my Instagram, Snapchat, Kik, Twitter, Tumblr, Vine, go to school, and I come back. And I'll go on Netflix, and I'll go to my room, and I'll listen to like Pandora, Spotify, I'll play my Xbox, like Grand Theft Auto, and Call of Duty. And that's about it. Like the time I use, I think I would spend about 7 to 8 hours every day. So when I'm on social media, I feel like I know what's going on. You know, you do feel a little connected and you know like what people are up to. Like, you know, I'll post pictures or videos, I'll like comment on stuff. I don't think I'm addicted to it, my phone. I think it's kind of a leash though, because you always have to be on it. And you know, when I hear buzz, I'm like, oh, I have friends.
Is that true? All right, does this kid represent 13-year-olds that you know? Some of them, maybe? So when I said that social media is not necessarily their favorite thing, I want you guys to think back to when you were in elementary school, middle school. Right? I have middle schoolers right now, and that they are on that phone, you know, as much as I will let them, right? But when you guys were middle schoolers, were you on your phone as much as your parents would let you? It was a different phone. No, you don't think so? What were you doing? You're doing homework? Our kids are doing homework too. Not on their phones. So as a kid, I think I definitely was sitting there. I mean, put your hand to your ear if you loved that phone and talking to your friends. Yes, yes. You loved that phone. I had one in my bedroom. It was pink. It was awesome. And I called my friends, and I enjoyed talking to them, right? But really, it wasn't that I loved that telephone. I loved my friends, right? I loved knowing what was going on. I loved talking to them and finding out what the latest gossip was, or just connecting with them, talking to them about homework, right? Finding out what they did for problem number 42. That kind of stuff. That's what I did when I was a kid. I listened to tons of music. I watched a ton of TV, right? And so, you know, when we ask a kid in a focus group, she says, adults don't get it. They think I'm addicted to technology, but I'm not. I'm addicted to my friends, right? And this hasn't really changed a whole lot, right? Kids really like being with other kids. So what does that mean to me as a parent of a couple of middle schoolers? I try to get them together with their friends in person and without their devices as much as I possibly can. I try to get them to go and, you know, be in swimming and be in sports and run around until they're ragged, until they're falling over. That's my strategy as a parent, is, you know, I don't want to say no to the device because I know that device connects them to their friends and they do a lot of really fantastic things and they're sharing, you know, poems that they wrote, you know, for their creative writing class or for their spoken word class. That is awesome. That's fantastic. And I don't want to deny that. But I really want to make sure that that is not the only thing that they're doing, is just talking to each other on the phone. So that's my strategy, personally, as a parent, is make sure my kids are just as busy as possible. Here are things that I just wanted to point out as social media red flags for you guys to be aware of. Make sure that if your kids are using social media, you know, in a healthy way, then we're good. But if you start seeing things like age-inappropriate content, right? Content like that is not okay for your kids to be able to see. If their settings are on a public instead of private, right? That is something to be aware of. Make sure that their social media platforms are not locating them and tracking them and sharing those locations publicly. Make sure that if, you know, a lot of kids just use these streaming. I mean, it's usually just a lot of boring garbage and nobody's really watching your streaming. But sometimes, you know, you have to be careful if your kids are using that streaming and that live streaming in a way to try to get more followers or to try to get, you know, try to do things in order to be able to get attention in some way. Ads and in-app purchases, if you've ever had a surprise bill, you will now never make that mistake again. I think we have a video about how to avoid in-app purchases. If they don't have a reporting methodology on that platform that shows, like, if you see bullying, if you see something that's inappropriate and you can't report it, that's a problem, right? So Facebook, Twitter, all these things, they all have reporting methodologies built into the platform. I'm not going to say all anonymity is terrible, but if the point of the app is to be anonymous, obviously, let me just say this, anybody can be anonymous. I can start a Twitter account using a fake email at any time that I want, right? So I could theoretically be anonymous, but if the point of the app is to make people say things because they are under the cover of anonymity, that could be a problem. Cyberbullying and negative culture. You do not want to feel like garbage. You, a parent, right? If you get on Facebook and you feel like garbage, because all your friends are just saying all kinds of bad things and make you feel horrible, or they're griping about how awful everything is, that's not good for you as a parent, right? So make sure that the reasons why you're using social media are to enhance your life and to make you feel better and make you feel good as a human and to connect with others. So the thing that I also wanted to really touch on is bullying. This is always a question that I get from a lot of parents. And to understand how to report abuse, anytime you have that platform where you see that report or block button, that's always important. Encourage your kids that, when they see something happening online or in real life as well. First of all, let me say that bullying is not just kids being rude to each other. It's not just somebody being mean to one person one time. It is a repeated and targeted harassment that results from a power differential, right? If there is one kid who has a lot of power and is repeatedly harassing another kid who has less power, that is what we're talking about when we're talking about bullying. I'm not saying that kids shouldn't retaliate when kids are rude, but if they're two kids of equal power and they're going back and forth at it, that is not necessarily bullying, right? So if you see kids who are, just being targeted in some way, or if your kid knows of this in a repeated way, then by all means encourage that person to report it and to be an upstander and to take care of this. Tell an adult, right? Or talk to the kid who is being bullied and say, hey, this is something that I see happening and I'm on your side, right? There are many ways that kids can take care of each other and create that culture, especially if they know the kid who's in power. Collect proof if this is something that you're going to need to report in a more robust way. Make sure you print out the evidence, take screenshots, involve others, as I said, an adult who has the ability to be able to report these things in not just the platform way, but others. And possibly having to limit online access for the kids who are both victims and perpetrators of this as well. So worst case scenarios are not the norm, right? As we said, you don't make a rule for the 1% of kids who act like jerks. You think about the fact that 99% of kids are fantastic and awesome, and everybody's going to be okay. But I do want to just point out, keep these are really hard, this hard research to be able to pin down properly. But it's only 4% of kids online have online interactions where a predator attempts to make a contact offline. Right? 9% of kids receive unwanted online sexual solicitations. 20 to 54% of teens have sent or posted sexy pictures of themselves. Those sexy pictures are sent to a significant other. It's the question of what happens after those kids break up, and they're, that's the problem. Of 30 to 40% of teens say nude photos are shared beyond the intended receiver. Right? So these are all things that, yes, these are the problems that you want to try to avoid as much as possible. So I'm going to take a break for 1 second. And you guys, here's my rule. If I saw two people yawn, I'm going to make you stand up and do an activity. I know, it's late at night. I'm so grateful that you're here. I promise, you're going to enjoy this. So I put in like a backup in here. I'm going to make them do it. I'm sorry. You have to do this. Okay, so you have to stand up, and you have to find a partner. And there's a video up here that's going to show you how to do this thing called fist and flat. And when the video is over, we will sit back down, and I promise we will all be refreshed and happy. Ready? Find a partner that you do not know. Make a friend. You don't have to do that part. Hold on. Find a you all feel better? Yes. Yes. See, this works for kindergartners. So if it works for kindergartners, it definitely works on parents. I always do this with principals too. Principals are notoriously very bad at this. Okay. Good. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of some of the things to watch for when it comes for being balanced, right? Ask yourself, is my kid physically healthy and sleeping enough, right? If your kid is physically healthy and sleeping enough, then that's a really good sign, right? If your kid is not sleeping enough, think about limiting that screen time. Connecting socially with family and friends in any form, whether it be online, whether it be in real life. Are they connecting socially or are they isolated, right? Engaged with and achieving in school. If your kid is doing well in school, good job, parent, you're doing really well, right? Pursuing interests and hobbies in any form, right? That can be your kid is a total gamer. Your kid loves Minecraft to no end and is making the most amazing creations ever, right? That is a hobby, right? And that is a skill. And that is something that, you know, that can be really good for your kid in a lot of ways. Having fun and learning in their use of digital media. Does it make them sad, as I said? Does it make them angry? Does it make them depressed? Or do they enjoy it? Are they happy when they're using digital media and technology? Right, so these all come from new screen time rules for the American Academy of Pediatrics, right? And so these are the things that, if your kid is doing all this, you're on the right track, right? You're doing okay, and you know, the fact that you're here and the fact that you're concerned, you're already a really good parent, okay? So these are the things that you need to just keep in mind. Model being a good user of media and tech, right? If you are telling your kids not to text at the dinner table, don't text at the dinner table, okay? All right. Use limits, not lectures, and be upfront about checking their media use. So if your if your kids are, you know, spending too much time with their screens, there are ways that you can set limits. We handed you all out those family media agreements in which you guys can all agree when is it an appropriate time, right? When, like, make sure you do your homework first. Make sure that we're not doing this at the dinner table. In this space here, we do not use devices. And those rules go for you too, parents, okay? Be ready to step in. I just got a new app on my phone, this Moment app. Is anybody using this Moment app? To monitor my own use of media and technology. It tells me how much time I am spending on social media. Yes, I know it's free, and every time I go to check it, it gives me a little like, hey, are you bored? Maybe you should just put that down and not necessarily use your phone. So it's called Moment. M-O-M-E-N-T. I just found it in the App Store. We talked about it from an author. It was suggested to us by an author that I hope you guys will see someday. So the other thing is be ready to step in if necessary, but let teens make some choices on their own, right? If your kid is following all those other healthy behaviors and they're really good kids, you know, man, if you can trust them to, you know, you can't just set limits all the time. You can't say no all the time. You can't restrict and lock everything down all the time, because the second that they step out of your house and they're no longer on your network, you know, boom, then they have everything open to them, right? So it's more about having the conversations. It's more about telling them why you're worried than it is about locking everything down as much as possible, right? So, and don't forget that media can be beneficial. This is a game that one of my sons really loves. It's called Elements. And Elements and Dragon Box are these two math apps that my kids just went crazy for. My kids were doing algebraic equations in a visual form by when they were 5 years old, right? They're doing geometric proofs in this crazy, beautiful app when they're 7. So we have all kinds of recommendations for apps that are great for your kids when it comes to reading, when it comes to math, when it comes to social emotional learning, for anything. That's what we do at Common Sense, is we make these recommendations. Every time it's family movie night and I have to pick a movie that my 11-year-old, my 13-year-old, and I are all gonna enjoy together, I go to Common Sense, I look for a recommendation. My 16-year-old nephew, what the heck do you get a 16-year-old gaming, coding, you know, robotics, freaky 16-year-old boy? Like, what do you get this kid, right? I go to Common Sense and I say, hey, what would a 16-year-old coder really need these days? That's what I look for. So,
Elements, and what's the other one?
oh, Elements and Dragon Box is our other big Dragon Box. Oh, I love Dragon Box. It's so beautiful. So I just wanted to give you a taste of what your teachers are doing in the district. All right? And so with digital citizenship, we cover all these topics like safety, digital drama, information literacy, fake news. Have you ever heard of fake news before? Yeah, they're teaching your kids how to identify fake news. All right, digital footprints and reputation, creative credit and copyright, privacy, relationships, communication. All right, so we're starting in kindergarten with this, by the way. So let me show you what that looks like. For example, in middle school, there is a lesson called Safe Online Talk. Do you guys know if this one's taught? I don't know, we'll see. You might have this in your curriculum. And the question is, how do you handle inappropriate online talk? Because really, kids, they know not to give out their private information. But what if it's somebody that they kind of know, and that person is like kind of asking them for something that makes them feel a little bit, right? The question is, how has the phrase, "don't talk to strangers," changed with online communication? So, why don't you have a whisper level conversation with your shoulder partner, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to discuss how has the phrase, "don't talk to strangers," changed with online communication? Can you tell your kids not to talk to strangers anymore? Maybe when they're really little, but once they hit middle school, once they hit 6th, 7th, 8th grade, think about it. Okay, turn and talk to your neighbor.
Hi, Logan.
All right, guys. Did you guys agree? Did you have a good conversation? Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video about how this is handled in class. Okay, let me pause this real quick.
Well, my next question then is,
So this teacher asked the kids, do you guys talk to strangers online? Or how many hours a day are you using apps and games, right? And then she asks them, do you talk to strangers realistically?
who do you talk to?
Our friends.
You talk to your friends. I think that's the number one answer, right? How many of you would say you're talking to your friends? Okay. Who else are you talking to? Be honest. JD?
Unknown people.
Unknown people, random people. How many of you talk to people you've never met in person? It happens, right? It's expected. That's part of the beauty of being online, is I can learn from people that I can't communicate with on a daily basis.
We will go over the key vocabulary, make sure they understand the terms that I'll be using.
So the first word is inappropriate. It's probably a word you've heard many times here at school, right? We talk about inappropriate behavior. Risky means potentially dangerous. This term, online predator, refers to an adult who sort of stalks kids or teenagers on the internet.
We'll go through the list of the warning signs.
This is a big one. If they ask you to keep the friendship a secret, or your communication online a secret.
The kids have shared that they're really comfortable already with knowing that they shouldn't share personal information. But some of the more subtle things, some of the grooming that online predators tend to use, they're not as familiar with them. And we'll go on to the written scenarios. And in those, I want them to look for the warning signs that we've gone over.
Okay. So you can see in this, like, a lot of these kids talk to strangers. Actually, I talked to strangers twice today. Right? People I didn't even know. I found a table on Craigslist that I really wanted, And I texted the guy and I said, hey, can I come look at your table? And he's just like, oh man, it's already sold. But I would go out there and I'd go pick up this thing and I would meet a stranger that I'd never met before, and I would go and give him $500 and maybe buy a table off. Have you guys ever done this before? It sounds completely wacky, right? Like I get into Lyft constantly, right? We are talking to strangers all the time. And our kids are in games, and they are talking to people on Instagram, talking to artists, talking to other people, somebody else's cousin. And so the question is that safe? Is it safe for me to like go and get myself a table? You've never done this before? I go with a friend. I broad daylight. I don't go inside somebody's house and like, go in, to their basement and look at their table. No, nothing like that. I'd never met these guys before, and if they emailed me and they said, hey Sue, would you come out and talk to our parents? I'd be like, yeah, I'll totally come out and talk to your parents, right? And it happened, exactly, she tweeted at me. All right, I do this every day. I do this in a professional way. I do this in a personal way. I reach out to strangers constantly, and so do many of you. And you're not dead yet, right? So we have to make sure that our kids understand what's acceptable conversation between strangers in an online format, and what is like, okay, that seems a little creepy, right? I do not like the way this conversation is going. Now what do I do? Right? So I think it's unrealistic to say anymore, don't talk to strangers once your kids are, interfacing with the world using social media in some way. But how do we teach them to make sure that they listen to their gut when something happens that they do not like, right? Oh, sorry. Let's keep going. Oh, maybe I can't keep going. Hold on. Tech problems. Let's see if we can go this way. Okay, so here's what we do at Common Sense. Let me just give you a sense of this. In this lesson, we say there are 3 stoplights here, right? Or three light colors. Green, coast is clear, you feel safe, enjoy interacting with this person, but you also have to remember that all conversations can take unexpected turns, so be prepared to put on the brakes if you need to. Slow down, be cautious, and be prepared to stop. Something about this conversation makes you feel uncomfortable. You're alert for any signs of inappropriate or suspicious behavior. Stop, it's too dangerous to proceed. The person you're talking to is clearly acting inappropriately and the conversation needs to end. So in this lesson, they go through scenarios, they see different ways that people are interacting, they talk about them, and now they are given the opportunity to apply them, right? So this is one story that they're given the opportunity to practice on. Abby is 14. Yesterday, her friend Ivan's bar mitzvah. She went to her friend Ivan's bar mitzvah, and Abby chatted with some of his relatives at the party. Today, Abby logs on to the social networking site, MyFace, and sees a friend request from Ivan's uncle. She doesn't know him very well, but they did chat a little bit about school at the dessert buffet. What light do you think Abby should choose in this situation? Clearly the guy's a creep. No, so if you guys say green. Everybody okay? Okay, yellow? Yellow, green, I'm sorry, red. Okay, so what would you suggest to Abby if you were in her situation? I don't know if I'm gonna use a mic. Is this, yeah? You can shout it out loud, I'll repeat it. What'd you say, age group? He could be an older, let's say he's 18 years old. 18. What if she says, hey Ivan, your uncle, wants to friend me on Facebook, right? What should I do? He's just like, Jimmy, he just friends every single person. He's got like 5,000 friends, no big deal. You can take him or leave him, whatever. Or if she asks her parents, let's say she asks her parents, hey, Ivan's Uncle Jimmy asked me if I would be friends on Facebook. What should I do, right? That might be a good way to proceed, right? And then they can say, let's check out his profile. Let's see if he's a creepy jerk, right? And they can make that decision together. There are lots of different options here, but I think what's important is that, Abby is not going to be running off with Ivan anytime soon. Maybe she proceeds with caution. Maybe she doesn't jump headfirst into this thing. Having a conversation with parents or with Ivan, right, would probably be a good idea, right? So, second story here. Vince is 12 and loves to play Escape Go, a fantasy combat massive multiplayer online role-playing game. When he first started playing, another avatar was nice to him and helped him learn the ways of the game. Since they've been good friends online, completing quests together and protecting each other during combat. Once, one of their teammates asked them how old they were during a quest. Enough small talk, dude, nobody cares, just play the game, Vince's friend said in response. So, what do you think Vince should choose in this situation? Should he keep being friends with this guy? So you're all green lighting this? Green, yellow, sure, right? Okay, so one thing that I forgot to ask up here, what if that was Ivan's aunt that asked for the friend request instead of Ivan's uncle? You'd feel so much good. What do you think Vince should choose in this situation? What if the friend then turns to Vince and says, "Oh, by the way, how old are you?" Right? Where do you live? Right? So, these are the kind of conversations that we're having in class. And then when your kids, eventually, what they have offered to them is this tip sheet that somehow we would love it if parents were to receive this after kids were taught that lesson in class, right? Common sense on safe online talk. So your middle schooler gets the lesson in class, and then you as the parent understand that they received a lesson that day about online talk. So there's a parent tip sheet associated with every single lesson. And so there are questions in here, or just research studies and information for each parent about safe online talk and what they can do to support their kid. So things like block, ignore, leave. Make sure your child feels safe telling a trusted adult. Talk to your child about healthy relationships. Look for warning signs, right? So, and some statistics in here about, safety. Teens aged 13 to 17 are more at risk for online socialization than tweens or children. A majority of online solicitations come from teens themselves or from young adults, age 18 to 25, and so on, right? So that's what we hope happens at Common Sense. You guys are down with this? Yes? Okay, yes team. We hope that all this kind of stuff happens in the future. So it's not just your kids who are getting the good stuff, but your parents as well. So when you guys were answering the questions, when you're in your RSVP, what is it that you care most about? Do you remember RSVPing? When you RSVP'd, what is your biggest concern about your kids' media and technology use? I put all your answers into a Wordle, and the thing that came up most frequently is, let's see, too much screen time are the words that really stood out, right? Safety was also huge, inappropriate, appropriate, bullying, and so on, right? So these are the things that you guys care about, and I'm going to show you where to find them before we are done. So on the Common Sense site, we have this site here, and all of those concerns are listed under parent concerns. So things like screen time, cyberbullying, safety, right? Privacy and internet safety, Facebook, Instagram, and social media, cell phone parenting. So if you clicked on one of those, if you clicked on screen time, for example, and learned about, what's on your mind? Get answers to top parenting, and that was all about managing your time as a parent. You'll see on here under screen time, quick videos, 3 ways parents can tame their own device use, right? 5 simple steps for a healthy media diet. But you'll see down here questions about how much screen time is okay for my kid, and you'll see our answer. You'll also see, are some types of screen time better than others, right? You want your kids creating, making, communicating with other kids, getting other perspectives, talking to family members, doing all kinds of really fun, awesome things that help them learn, right? Not that sitting around and watching a movie is necessarily bad, right? Depends on the movie, I suppose. But these are the kinds of things that you can encourage your kid to do. My kids are learning how to play piano and guitar using apps right now. So that kind of stuff. So here among the parent concerns, you can see questions and answers to whatever your question was. Specifically, the ones that were about what is cyberbullying, what should I do if my kid is bullied online, right? So we try to answer your questions, and if you don't see your question in here, then you ask our experts right up here. So here are things that you would do as a parent. What should I do if my kid is bullied? Here are 5 things that you can do. Does that all make sense? You know where to go? Cool. Okay, I am going to talk about that family agreement real quick. The one that you guys all got on the way in, if you want that. This is just a contract between you and your kid so that you can sit down and have a conversation with them about rules that you agree on. This is a great place to start. So we gave out ones out there for elementary, middle, or high school. And this is just a way for you guys to talk about what is a value that you have in your household and you both agree to it. Right? So I will stay safe. I will not, I know I have a choice in what kind of relationships I have online. I'll stop talking to anyone who makes me feel pressured or uncomfortable. I wanted to put in a plug for our device-free dinner campaign. If you have not seen Will Ferrell and his device-free dinner PSA, it's really funny. And I think this is where I will leave
I'm
you
not
guys.
hungry.
What's wrong, sweetheart?
Oh.
I miss Daddy.
I know. We all miss him.
I miss him more.
Oh, no, I miss him the
I
most.
miss him a lot.
No.
I got
I miss him
more.
so much.
Hey, everyone shut up. This filter makes me look like a cat.
So if that is your family and you need to have an intervention with somebody, this might be a good place to start with device-free dinner. All right? So I'm just going to encourage all of you to, support your schools, become resources for your schools, have conversations with your kids, and certainly, by all means, use that Common Sense site to find recommendations, to find reviews, to find advice on your parent concerns. And we hope that we will see you back again someday, and that you are all having conversations amongst each other within your school community, and really supporting the work that they're doing with technology to make sure that your kids are safe and responsible and ethical. All right? So that's it on my part.
You guys, can we give it up for Sue one more time? We'll be done in about 5 minutes. I know some parents have to go. I respect that. So I'll pause for a second while people have to make their exit, just so we can, the rest of us will focus after they're gone. So I'm going to go ahead and start, if that's okay. Because in a second, Lisa is going to put up my quick presentation. I wanted to share a few thoughts with you. One of the reasons tonight was so important is that you know that we rolled out a district-wide one-to-one initiative. Is everyone familiar with that? No? Oh my goodness, TK8 is one-to-one now. Did you know that? Okay, one device to one student. That is a direct result of parents working with us as staff and through the board to get that approved last year. That is your work manifested. So we know that the kids aren't using technology only in the classrooms, they're using it at home, and making sure that they are well equipped to make great decisions with your support and our guidance too is a moral imperative on our part. Would you agree with that? Yes, so this series will be a year-long series. We have 2 parent events in addition to this one to help support you in making decisions for your family that align with your values as a family. So you'll get the same information, but it may look differently in each household based on what you as parents believe. So where are we, Lisa? Okay, right here. So let me go back to the first one. So I'm not going to read this to you all, but I did think it was important that as parents, you know as staff what we're working on this year with technology. And all of these bullets you should see manifested at your school sites. And if you're not familiar with them, we'll ask the coaches to give presentations at your PTA meetings, because we know you want to know what's going on with technology in our district. Thanks, Lisa. Are you controlling me?
I'm sorry.
I know, a little clicker. So, again, I'm not going to read. If you would just scan this. This notion of digital citizenship is so crucial because we're leveraging the technology to do what Dr. Brady talked about earlier, and that's ensure that our kids thrive in a complex, changing world. And that means they have to have skills around critical thinking, communication, collaboration, computational thinking. So all of these things are crucial. We want our students, our children, to be creators, not just consumers of all of this information. In addition to that, this notion of the moral imperative that we all share in making sure our kids are safe in this digital environment. And then lastly, we want to make sure that they don't fall victim to bad actors. I don't want to be scary. We're just keeping it real tonight, right? So getting and staying involved, we want to make sure that our parents stay engaged in the conversation around digital citizenship, and more than that, that we ensure that you have the information you need to make great decisions for your family and for your children. And we feel it our moral imperative as staff and as parents working together with staff to make sure you get this information. So you can count on us to bring additional parent education opportunities around this topic this year. I know. The tech team is always the team that has the most technical challenges. Have you noticed that? No matter where you are. Yeah, let's go old school. Oh, it went. Okay, great. So if you guys wouldn't mind downloading the Common Sense Media app, bookmarking it on your computers, like you bookmark your favorite news sites and that kind of thing. Again, it's our job to empower you with resources to get the information. We can't give you all the information that's out there, but we can give you the resources so you can dig deeply. And this last bullet we think is incredibly important. Schedule regular family talks around this topic. I talked about this a little bit, so I'm going to keep going because is there anyone in here who isn't exhausted? So our parents had this amazing idea to have digital ambassadors at each of the school sites. If you're interested, would you please email Kimberly Combs at this email address. Kim, would you raise your hand? Oh, she stepped out. Oh, there she is. She'll be coming up here in a second. Parent-teacher contact. If you haven't already, please reach out to your child's teacher and have these conversations during parent-teacher conference, during meetings where your teachers are present, with your site administrators. When I was an assistant principal, my principal used to say, safety is everyone's business. Digital citizenship is everyone's business. And then here's the part that is so important. An event like this does not happen because of one or two people. I want to ask Bahar, Romy, Sean, Kim to please stand up. I saw Sean. Is he still there, Sean? I see the ladies. If you guys, I know you don't like this. I'm so sorry. Sean, please, I'm begging you, don't embarrass them in front of the whole. Yes, they deserve that. They so deserve that. The passion and the dedication they gave. I thought they were members of my staff. They were amazing. I cannot express to you how hard these 4 parents worked to make this happen tonight. Can we please give it up to them one more time? I mean, really, enough cannot be said. Yes, ma'am. Did you hear that? Team, we talked about that. That did come up. Yes, ma'am. That's one of the next events. I'm going to quickly go through this. Our parents who are here today, Dr. Briggs thanked you at the top of this. We'd like to please give yourselves a break. You're tired, you worked, or you're at home with your kids all day. Thank you for being here. Shirley Ho, where is she? She designed all the flyers. Christian Pure, back there, those amazing glasses, his assistant principal, Alyssa Carr. Dr. Breggy, our amazing superintendent, setting the stage and the foundation for us. The child care and custodial staff, our PTA council for sponsoring this event, paying for. Our tech hostess, our BHUSD IT department. Sue, where are you again? Yeah. And last but not least, the wonderful restaurants that sponsored us. You guys have an amazing evening. Thank you so much for coming out. Oh.